Hello, everyone, and welcome to How to Extend Workflows Beyond IT, a modern approach to enterprise service management with our partner, HaloITSM. My name is Tabitha Ishman, and I'm the marketing manager of Excalibur Data Systems, and I just wanted to welcome all of you to the webinar today, and then I'll just go through a few logistics before we get started. The lines are muted and the webinar is being recorded, and a recording will be sent via email to all participants tomorrow, and we'll answer questions at the end in a Q&A, but you can feel free to ask questions at any time during the presentation just by typing them into the question window. Now I'm just going to talk a little bit about who Excalibur Data Systems is. We are a leading edge consulting firm guiding organizations through their digital transformation journey. We work with strategic partners just like HaloITSM and leverage best of breed enterprise service management technologies. In doing so, we help create next generation solutions for our customers. And now I'm going to just talk a little bit about Halo before we jump into the content of the webinar today. HaloITSM has everything you need for IT all in one place. And we're going to be sharing a lot of educational information today, like I mentioned. HaloITSM is a single all-inclusive ITSM software solution, also extending into the enterprise. It will transform your current ways of working into intuitive, up-to-the-minute workflows, as well as give your teams the ability to deliver the best service to customers and employees alike. So now I'm going to kick us off, I'm going to introduce Mike Fuson, owner, VP, and Senior Solutions Architect at Excalibur Data Systems. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Tabitha. Welcome, everyone. It's always fun to get together with my friend Tom Petley from HaloITSM and talk a little bit about kind of what's going on and what's happening and what we see happening in the industry. Tom, thank you for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And Tom is the product owner of HaloITSM and has done one or two implementations of ITSM and SESM systems. Actually, all kidding aside, Tom's done hundreds of these implementations over the years. And the big focus, as Tabitha talked about with HaloITSM, is bringing a better customer experience to the table. Which is both for our technicians as well as our end customers. And so I want to go through a little overview of what Tom and I are going to talk about today, trying to overcome that shadow IT that happens in organizations by leveraging enterprise service management with HaloITSM, looking at digitizing your complete organization, not just IT, but other departments that could benefit from a workflow platform, building productive and efficient working environments, improving governance at your organization, centralizing the management of all of your services, all of the services that are delivered to customers, not just IT services, enhancing communications and collaboration and best practices for picking a solution that you can grow with. And so Tom and I are going to get into some of these topics, and we're going to have a little bit of fun here. So let's take a look. So, why is HaloITSM kind of a different type of platform? So we have up on the screen here, Tom, the HaloITSM core processes, which are the core ITSM processes, kind of where a lot of customers start, and it has them all in one place within the HaloITSM platform. But that's just the beginning. I know you guys at Halo have extended this all over the place for many customers. And in fact, as the platform was built, it wasn't ever just intended to serve the purposes of IT. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, it's always built in a way that was designed to be able to grow into different departments and utilize a lot of the key concepts that IT and ITIL have as kind of standard, just to be able to roll that out to different departments. Because often IT is the most mature. It's starting from it's got the structure of ITIL, and it's the most mature processes that sit there. a lot of the key concepts you can just roll out. Service requests and service catalogs and things like that are very, very cross department. It's things like facilities departments and HR departments. They're all managing services as well. So it's just very logical to be able to roll it out to different departments. And we built the tool in a way that makes it really, really easy.
Well, and I know you guys in building Halo took it to other levels and doing other things for customers that serve IT, like MSPs and other types of businesses. They have capabilities within Halo ITSM that you wouldn't in a typical ITSM platform, really demonstrating the flexibility of the core of Halo.
Yeah, we've done all sorts over the years. MSPs, we have a lot of MSPs that use Halo. It lends itself quite well to that because we also enable you to support external customers, so a range of external customers as well. So you can actually, we have quite a few customer service teams using it as well, supporting externally outside the business as well as internally. So it's a really, really flexible platform, and just the architecture it's built on just lends itself to be basically expanded out across the whole kind of organization.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that. So when you're beginning to digitize your organization, and it's something that I've talked about for years with customers, request management or workflow processes are the most common needs of other departments that are being brought into your ESM platform. And I'll have folks go, well, but that's not going to work for us, or this department has special needs. And I say, what are they doing today? And in a large percentage of the cases, they have a shared mailbox. So, and it's funny because I'm sure in our audience we have folks that are saying, "Oh yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what that department's doing." They have a shared mailbox, and everybody's working out of that shared mailbox. They work out of their own email, be that Outlook or Gmail, what have you. And they've got all these different templates to try to respond to people. And a lot of times the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, and it's hard to keep track of who's working on what, and you move things into different folders, and then, oh, we got to have the admin's got to do something because we just got a mailbox warning that it's getting too full, or all of those things that you're dealing with. And when you really sit down with them and you break down their process is really not all that different than the request management and incident process that exists for IT at its very basic levels. Who is the requester? So that's our requester. What are they requesting? That's the description. And who's going to work on it? That's who is it assigned to? When do they need it? That might be a field that says, hey, here's the due date. Likely some sort of classification. As we've extended these systems beyond the walls of IT, leveraging a classification system helps them break work down. How many times did we get asked for? Fill in the blank. Notes on the work in progress, so those could be notes or journal type entries. Ability to assign tasks, so we have other people that need to do things in order for us to fulfill whatever request has been made. Approvals, if needed. Automation, so sending an email to them saying, hey, we've received your request. Hey, your request has been completed. All of those sort of things that we do in IT are really no different than, say, a treasury department that needs to manage their requests, or as you noted, facilities or HR, or fill in the department name here. All of these departments, no matter how different they think they are running a request management process. Who do we need to do the work for? What's the work that needs to be done? And we're tracking it in some fashion.
Yeah, prioritization of it as well. It's very difficult to prioritize in a mailbox. It's just one long list.
Well, and you also don't have any visibility into your metrics. Something like mean time to resolution.
No chance of you doing emails.
Yeah, like you said, all you have is basically a list of what needs to be done, and then you've probably created some structure in that shared mailbox to understand that it's being worked on or who's working. You lose a lot of fidelity to it.
A lot of people they almost try and turn it into a service management solution without knowing about it. They'll add like lots of folders, and each person that works in it might have their own folder, and they might have categories, some of those Outlook categories, and almost trying to recreate what systems like Halo just have out of the box.
Exactly, and these are processes that are well, looking at, from an ITIL perspective, are well defined. And we don't have to necessarily apply ITIL principles to everything, but the core still is there. What is the typical data we need to collect, and how are we going to manage that work? And so as we start to talk about building a productive and efficient working environment, it's one of the things that we have here is kind of the first line. Your ESM platform that you have already does request management quite well. It's really just a matter of replicating and extending this process to other departments. But one of the things, as you talked about, they already in that shared mailbox start to build, folders and all sorts of stuff that end up being, classification system or assignment systems or, what have you. And a lot of customers, when we talk about this, will say, well, how do we figure out what their needs are? And we need to understand the specific needs from that department, because it's going to differ from IT request management processes. For example, in many cases, SLAs are really not a concept that HR is going to leverage or that facilities is going to leverage. They could, if they got that capability in their
I'd agree. I think SLAs can scare other departments. I think people automatically assume that there's some contractual obligation to it. They're going to be it's going to be published somewhere. It's going to be up on a board for the world to see, and they're going to be, I don't know, get in trouble if they miss them or whatever. For me, it's just a metric of prioritization, just reporting back on how well you are able to meet your targets. They don't need to be the targets of the business. They don't need to be the targets, or you don't even need to report on it externally. It could just be a target for yourselves to aim for. And I think it's a really important thing that just kind of introduced, even at a very, very kind of high level, just to kind of get the concept of working towards those general targets kind of as a principle.
Well, and I agree with you, Tom, on that. It's something that I talk about a lot with customers, is that, don't be afraid of an SLA. And you stated it perfectly. It can generally just be an internal metric. How are we doing versus how we think we should be doing? And it gives you some insight where if you said something should be completed in 2 days, and you start seeing that many of them aren't getting completed in 2 days, it lets you ask critical questions. Is it a staffing issue? It takes longer than 2 days to do this, and we thought it was quicker. It gives you that insight. It can be very, very valuable. But some departments don't necessarily need it, and that's okay, because in your in your ESM platform, in your Halo system, you don't have to apply an SLA. If you want to, we certainly can help you. And that's the beauty, is how would you even begin to do that in a shared mailbox or in some sort of basic system that you're trying to do that with? We have the ability to essentially replicate the request management process that's used by IT to whatever degree is appropriate, right? The second bullet here is, the service catalog might be simpler. Perhaps it's only a 2-tier catalog, not a 3-tier catalog. IT provides a lot of services, and we get into some detailed breakdown of parts of those services and what's being delivered. And when you start to look at a singular department, that singular department, HR, the service they're providing might be human resources. So they may only need 2 tiers, and that's okay. We can give you 2 tiers, we can give you 3 tiers, we can give you 4 tiers if you need it. How do you need to structure it so that folks can find what they need and what they need to ask for help on? And then, the number and manner of metric data points may differ slightly. Certain metric data may be important based on the way a certain department works. And the flexibility of the Halo platform from an ESM perspective, what metric do you need to track? We have a whole workflow engine, a whole automation engine. We can do those things. So they're behind the scenes, right? The whole goal is, how do we make the department more efficient, right? Get out of the shared mailbox and we don't know which end is up half the time, but we still seem to be getting everything done to where it's a bit more orderly, and management can pull data from the system to see how we're doing, or what's our mean time. And I always, I have folks that'll fight me sometimes on metric data, and I use examples when I've sat in the CIO chair, and you have a lot of departments that work together to decide how an organization is going to operate. And so your finance department may say, hey, we're not going to open up those positions over in this area. Those are going to remain frozen. But that department's lost 2 people. So they've got 2 less people to do the same volume of work. The volume of work usually doesn't change. And finance is like, well, to save a couple of bucks, we're going to freeze those positions. With metric data, it gives you the ability as a manager, or as a CIO, or as a director of HR, or as a facilities manager, to say, hey, let me show you what freezing these positions is doing. It's taking us 5 days to be able to resolve certain things because only so much work can get done. It starts to give light. And the interesting thing is accountants who are generally making those kind of decisions tend to react very well to data. When you can lay data out in front of them, all of a sudden they go, well, wait a minute. And I actually had this experience in the CIO chair. I went and said, hey, we've got a problem over here. They're behind, and they're going to forever be behind, because there's always X number of, you look at statistically, X number of requests coming in per day. Here's the before picture when they had 5 people working on it. Here's the now picture with 3 people working on it. And the response was, well, they need 2 more people. And the manager was blown away. He said, well, you basically got them to go ahead and agree. No, all they needed was the data, that the data will help us. And so that's kind of that, I call it the side benefit of bringing this into a capable platform. Not only is your work a little bit better organized, customers can use the portal to request it. It's not sending an email. Somebody doesn't have to interpret things. People can request what they need. It gets divvied out based on whatever rules and processes we create to the right team to work on it. And then individuals can pick it up. But behind the scenes, we can be tracking this metric data, be it an SLA, where we want to know how well we're doing against how well we believe we should be doing, or be it this sort of data where we're able to show how long does it take, what's our mean time to resolution for specific things. Why? Because we can break them down by classification, right? You have a beginning and an end to a request. And all of these capabilities, customers already have sitting in front of them, or they have a system that either it's very complicated to build these processes, or they have a system that it does just the IT stuff and that's it. Well, come on over, folks, join us at Halo, because not only can we give you all of your IT processes, we can also give you the ability to put other processes into your platform. And Tom, that's an expensive proposition, is it not?
No, not with Halo.
Not with Halo. Not with Halo. You own the platform, right?
Exactly. And a lot of it, you don't have to. There's many ways it's not expensive. Halo charges based on licenses. So you would pay for additional people to use the tool,
right?
But we don't charge based on features or number of items in your service catalog, anything like that. It's purely based on the people using it. So if you wanted to, I think I might show you. I'll show you later on in the webinar just how easy it is to kind of add an extra service catalog in, or add an extra kind of business unit to be able to kind of HR team or facilities team. And there's no cost to those different areas. It's just a cost on licensing. So it's very, very cost effective to add these teams in. And the other thing that's really good is you can already leverage a lot of what IT has already. So the workflows that are in place, some of the templates, some of the kind of the catalog structure of it. You just add a kind of a branch to it. You can add more, add a kind of a legal entity to it. So you can leverage existing process setup, but you can also leverage IT's existing knowledge as well. So they'll already know how to do all these things and add them all in there. You don't have to go and learn a new tool or whatever it is. It's just, you just add it in. It's quite, it's very straightforward.
Right, and then spin it to whatever that department needs, and you have all the security and other capabilities to cordon things off as well, which we'll talk about here in a moment.
Siloed, yeah.
Yep. It's really about improving governance within the organization, right? By having all these departments leveraging a common platform to manage their work and workflows, you'll be able to provide a better level of governance to the overall work efforts as well as the individual department work efforts, right? And this is aligning the business goals, the business strategy, the business value that you're trying to get to as an organization, right? Being able to have that oversight on what's happening. You can have executive teams that are able to work at a higher level within the organization and within the platform to be able to see overall what's happening. We're starting to see, and we've been seeing for a while, chief customer officers, C-level executives that are responsible for ensuring that the organization is providing a good customer experience, not only externally to your customers, but also internally to the customers consuming services from the organization. And trying to align all of these things starts to become a bit more challenging when everything is 900 separate systems. And how do you determine how well you're meeting the goals of the overall organization? And this is part of the whole emphasis behind digital transformation today, which is getting organizations to look at it in a more holistic way versus, well, IT is going to do this and HR is going to do that, and facilities is going to do this. Are there opportunities for us to create a more unified front in providing the services that we provide? And that's what we talk about is centralizing the management of all of your services, self-service workflows, administration, scalability. When we start to bring these all into a single platform, it gives us the ability to be that much more efficient. And you just touched on it, where IT's already been through and has already optimized many of their processes in their Halo platform. So they have folks that have configuration experience within the Halo platform, or perhaps you're working with somebody like an Excalibur Data Systems that is assisting you in optimizing those processes. But it's all one platform. You're not managing 17 different things, and over here we need a Java coder, and over here we need a Python developer. No, we don't need a developer at all. We need a citizen developer, somebody that can configure the system, who we probably already have, that can assist these other departments when they want to add a workflow, or they want to add an automation, or they want to update their service catalog. And folks within those departments can even be trained to manage some of their own elements within the system. But it makes it a much more scalable concept because we're starting to centralize how all of these things are working, and they all work in a similar fashion with their own uniqueness where necessary, but they start to drive that, kind of coming back to the previous slide, getting us aligned with, the goals of the business, the goals, objectives, and the business value we're trying to bring. We're able to up the ante on that by having them all in one core platform, and that is HaloITSM.
Absolutely, yeah. It's everything you've said there. Just all makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's something that is talked about a lot, but also more and more is being put into practice. And the way the industry is going, it's digital transformation it's massive projects, massive projects often. But by getting it in the right tool and growing it often from IT, who already have that knowledge and understanding, just makes the whole process it's basically just phases to it. You just slowly kind of grow it out. But once you get that core structure and the core understanding right, then it's actually not as daunting as it could be. It's quite a kind of structured approach.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head, as we talked about before. Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, this is going to be so difficult. Oh my God. Well, take a step back and say, what's the process being used? The same process IT's been using for decades. And when customers question that, I get that question quite a bit. I said, have you ever been to an emergency room? Oh yeah, I've been to an emergency room. Guess what process they follow? Incident management, right? When you come in, you're usually triaged, right? And you're asked some questions. So what's your problem? We're going to classify you. We're going to prioritize you. And then you're going to go through a workflow, and tasks are going to be handed out to different folks, be it you need an X-ray or you need an MRI or you need blood draw. All of these, this is when you look at the core basis of the process, it's the same process that we already follow. So these things are used, these processes and how they work are used in all kinds of different places. And sometimes it's just taking a step back and going, what's incident management? Or that's a request management process. It's not all that different. There are nuances, little things that are different. I always joke when I'm sitting in the emergency room with one of the kids that the doctors that are taking forever, it seems like, to do anything would never tolerate this kind of SLA from IT, right? But when you step back, it's so interesting to kind of look at. They're really following an incident management process. There's no two ways about it, and the systems that they're collecting the data in, there's a lot of things that are going on there. But from a process perspective, it's something that we've all been doing for decades, decades, and it's not as complicated as you would think. And that goes then to the request management processes for other departments. They're collecting the same basic data we are as IT. How they process it and how they assign it and what tasks need to be created are different, but that's just that's just info.
Yeah, it's just fields in a form.
Exactly.
It's like your kind of emergency service example. They might have a paper form, and that's the same. It's the same concept. It's just fields to be filled in, data to be captured. I'd also say that if you have got teams that are out there which they might be having, staffing issues or whatever, there might be a reason that's a trigger for them to look for a system. It can be done in a phased approach. They don't have to do all these things in one go. They don't even have to have any fields or services or SLAs or anything like that. You can simply just take that email, automatically ingest it into Halo, and just start to slowly grow into it, start to just assign it, prioritize, and the system will automatically capture a lot of the data anyway that you need to kind of report on those metrics, and just things like open tickets, for example. You can just very easily they'll be there for you to see. You don't have to do anything, you don't have to set anything up for that, just automatically be there.
Well, and you look at things that managers may want to know. We don't want something to fall through the cracks. So wait a minute, nobody's working on this one. Who's going to work on it?
Unassigned.
Mean time to resolution. How long has this thing been open? The aging of an item. Well, holy cow, this thing's been open for 10 days. What's happening with it? It lets you ask important questions, even at a more basic level. But we also have the ability to enhance communication and collaboration, right? So by leveraging that common platform, one of the examples I always give is, HR may need to be siloed to protect the confidentiality of the request, while other departments may desire a more cross-functional and more collaborative structure with IT. And I think about organizations where they may have an external facing customer service group, right? That's taking a call from a customer, and the customer is having trouble logging in on the web page. Something that's provided by the company, and they're having trouble authenticating. And so that customer service rep is able to, excuse me, work through the customer on that issue, but maybe they're seeing errors and they need to kick it over to IT to have a deeper look. All of a sudden, you have the ability to tie those two items together.
Yeah, 100%. Just the ability to either reassign or assign tasks to different departments when you need kind of the input of different people. Just having them all in one place makes it so easy. My other favorite example, I don't know if you're going to come onto it or not later, but is the onboarding, new starters. A new starter, there's an incredible amount of work that goes on for new starters. There's obviously IT work, so they need to be supplied with a computer, AD account, access to everything. So there's obviously loads of IT tasks to do. But there's also tasks for HR. They need to be added to payroll and things like that. Legal, they need to have contracts signed, and there might even be some facilities. They might need access cards, or I don't know what it is. But there's loads of departments get involved for onboarding, and just to be able, the ability for a manager just to be able to go to one place, raise one request, and then for the system just to ping those different tasks to the relevant teams. It just makes it's just so much more efficient and really good service, and everything that kind of a modern kind of organization should look to kind of deliver.
Well, and you start to think about how, you know, so many of us have been working from home with the pandemic, and as things continue to evolve, it looks like that's going to continue for quite a while longer for many of us. And being able to provide a one-stop shop for them to come to, where what is it that I need? They're not, you know, because it, you know, calling a department now is a little more complicated, right? But if I'm able to raise my request, it's going to get to the right people because everybody's collaborating in a common system, and they can get my answer back. So it could be a question I have about, you know, my HR benefits and HR and some of those requests, and we've talked about this in previous webinars, is automating certain things. Perhaps the answer is a knowledge article, and based on the request that's put in, I may respond automatically with a knowledge article, additional information, and if you still need more, you know, email us back and we'll get somebody to interact with you. But a lot of times they just didn't know where to find it. But taking that, you know, looking at that as a capability, we have the ability to provide a common knowledge source across multiple departments. Each department can kind of manage their own knowledge. But if I need to come in and I want to get information on, you know, then this is a US thing of the 401k, the information could be made available to me. And we saw one of our customers do this, where, you know, they're in the healthcare industry and they were acquiring, you know, other institutions, and they constantly are. And one of the challenges is as they start to transition all those employees on board the parent company, there's a lot of questions that come up. So they created a whole knowledge site that has FAQs and everything else. And what they saw was the volume of simply phone calls and requests coming into HR went down significantly because most of the information was readily available. And then folks that had specific questions could ask them, and they were able to respond to them very, very quickly. And it didn't become a burdensome sort of task for the organization to manage. So it's really empowering the employees to serve themselves. And you and I have talked about this before, where that change of self-empowerment of the employees is sometimes a difficult transition for organizations to make. It's becoming more and more critical because not only do we have our millennial employees that are coming on board who are expecting, they want to go look it up themselves first before they ask a question because they're expecting it to be available. I should be able to Google it, right? That's what we're talking about here. I should be able to Google it internally and, you know, hopefully find my answer. And if I don't, how do I make a request for additional help? But now with everybody working from home, that sometimes is easier. It's easier to do that than to try to track somebody down by phone, because you can't walk down the hall now and tap somebody on the shoulder.
I was going to say that's something you've lost now, isn't it? When you kind of know the person to tap on the shoulder and kind of get
Exactly. But they live on the other side of town, and you're not sure, of their address. And they don't want anybody to know, because everybody will be lining up at their door, right?
The other thing is they might have moved on. There might be a new person in that role. You have no idea who it is.
And those are the things that are the realities that we're all living with today. And it's enhancing that communication and collaboration just makes it that much easier. A common platform, a common place to go look these things up and make requests are critical. And then we start to look at things like reporting, the ability to report, looking at the types of requests that are coming in. It's something that I encourage customers to do, to look at their data, right? What's the number one type of request that we have coming in for our department? Is there an opportunity to create knowledge that now that's more of not an as often occurrence? Do we have the ability to build some way for them to self-solve in dealing with that type of requests? And it helps us justify staffing, opportunities for automation, all these things that we've talked about.
We can build templates so they can log it really quickly if they call up, just all sorts of little things.
Exactly. And you're able to do that now because you've got data to be able to base that on. And so we start looking at best practices for picking a solution that you can grow with. That one of the keys that we see out there today is that citizen developer capability, that codeless configuration. We don't need to hire an army of programmers in order to configure and adapt our system. Ease of configuration, changes in administration, the ability to add process area content, advanced security features, and leveraging that to silo process areas where needed, like in HR, to make things more secure within the system. Options for single or multiple self-service sites, ability to leverage common service catalogs or deliver separate service catalogs as required. These are all things that are key to picking the right solution. It is, that tells us, is it ESM enabled? Is it going to provide us a good customer experience, delivering the services beyond IT? Is our total cost of ownership going to go through the roof? And as you talked about before, it's not. It's just a matter of, hey, do we have enough licenses for everybody to access the system that needs to access it? The content is our ability to build that. There's not an additional fee in order to do that. Quick time to value. You talked about being able to start very basic and build from there, or base it on things that have already been built and not having to reinvent the wheel. And then the quality of the vendor and partner relationship. HaloITSM and Excalibur data working as closely as we do together to ensure the customer is successful. These are things that should be critical when you're starting to look at a solution. If you just need a ticketing system, there's tens of thousands of them out there at all different price points. But most people are not looking for just a ticketing system. They're looking for a platform that gives them the ability to grow. And anything you want to add, Tom, from what you've seen out there from a best practice, things that you're hearing from customers?
No, I think you're absolutely right. You need a system that you can grow with, so a system that you can expand and put your processes into. You also need a platform that's also growing, so it's adapting to any new technologies, industry kind of, best practices and things that are evolving, because the industry does evolve all day, every day, kind of like machine learning and virtual assistants and things like that. You need a vendor that is on top of that, is following those trends. And so it's a system that can grow in both ways, really. And you've got something which is there for the long term, because it's, it's a getting everything in one place is a really important decision to make sure you have got the right platform behind you.
Yeah, and just a little, it's not a secret, but HaloITSM has their roadmap, what's completed, what's being worked on next, available right on the website. So you can see what's in store for the HaloITSM platform at any time. And I think it's so cool. And then you get on the email list and you hear about the updates that have been put out there and what's being worked on. This is a platform, HaloITSM is a platform that's constantly evolving. Ever since we started working together, it's not sat still. It's continued to evolve and change with leveraging new technologies that are out there, or as I've seen you guys do so often, a customer comes up with a pretty interesting idea and all of a sudden it becomes part of Halo.
Yeah, we take great pride in just continually improving the software. We're not a vendor that likes to sit still and create a product once and then resell it for the next 20 years in exactly the same format. That's really not us. We're a product that we just continually evolve. We want to be able to provide a platform that allows the customer to deliver the best service. That's kind of where we go. And yeah, Mike's right. Our roadmap consists of, I'd almost say it's a 50-50. It's half things that we think are in the best interest of everyone, and going forward are going to be things that lots of customers use and really take advantage of. And then another half based on kind of customer feedback and things that people suggest to us that they think would be an improvement to the software. And we've probably got quite a simple process compared to a lot of software vendors. We simply raise a request in Halo. We use Halo ourselves, and then we review it, and then we have an approval process, and then it gets scheduled in. It's quite a simple process, but it works really well for us and allows us to create a really good balance and of making sure we're putting things in there which people are going to use and want to use, not just things that sound good, but in practice don't really kind of do what people want to. So that's just kind of our approach there.
Yeah, it's different and refreshing to me. There's no legal statement at the beginning, what you're about to see, may or may not happen. It's kind of laid out, and we just continually see. And I know in our interaction with you where there have been integrations that might be valuable. Those were evaluated, and we've seen many of them come to fruition because they just made sense.
Absolutely. Integrations is massive because we don't have to be the best at everything. There are other solutions that are really, really good at stuff. It could be anything. This could be in IT. There's loads of, just thinking of asset management tools and things like that. There's loads of discovery tools that are really, really good. Yeah, we just work together. It makes sense. In kind of the HR world, there's tools like Workday, for example, it's a really good system. We're not going to ever be able to, or even want to do everything it does. So it makes sense for us to tie in for the bits that kind of make sense to work together. So there's loads of just integrations out there, and we just want to be a system that can integrate with everything really. So you can, again, it's one of those things about centralizing everything. You need to have all your systems talking together as best you can.
Yeah, so we briefly wanted to talk about a case study here for AOcom. And so maybe you can talk to us a little bit about what you guys did for AO.
Yeah, AO is a customer that I've worked with for many, many years. I used to be their customer success manager back in the day, and I did kind of parts of their implementation as well. And they've been a customer for many, many years. And as with a lot of customers, started out in IT, using it for their internal IT teams. And they used it for many years in IT, and then they kind of, as AO is a company in the UK for anyone maybe stateside doesn't know AO. They're a really big online kind of appliance and electronics and white goods retailer in the UK. And they've grown a lot especially the last kind of 5 years. So you've seen their IT usage go up heavily and kind of expand out to Germany and the Netherlands and countries like that. So they have separate kind of departments in there, different languages as well. So self-service portals in German or Dutch or whatever it might be. And then they just continue to grow. So they've grown out into, I know recently we've onboarded their facilities team. So they're taking that IT usage and they're turning it into an enterprise service management tool. So suddenly you're having a facilities team which manages all the tasks and all the requests that come in for facilities. So it might be small things like, I don't know, broken door handles and things like that. Also larger projects as well, larger kind of building maintenance projects and things like that. Just go into the system and they're managed from a single portal, single self-service portal. They will have their own email address as well. So if anyone wants to raise it via email, go into their email address, automatically routes through to their team as well. Yeah, and it's just brought it all into one place. And I think this slide shows it really didn't take very long. It really doesn't take long to onboard these additional departments because often their processes, like Mike said, they're coming from mailboxes typically. So their processes aren't complicated. It's really, really quick to do. And they've had massive success with it. And yeah, and then just looking next for the next departments to bring on board now. So it's just a really exciting, nice project, really.
Yeah, it's an example of being able to achieve the goals that the organization has and achieve them quickly. And I start to look at now with HaloITSM, it takes 15 minutes. And you start to look at that as a process. It's not just IT, but it could be any department can spin up a new service or a new offering that they're going to have just that quickly. And you had talked about doing a little demo for us and showing us just how easy some of that is. And so I'd like to turn it over to you and have you share some of that with us.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I'd like to, I know we haven't got too long left today, but I'd like to share a few things. All right, how do I do this? Share screen. I think it's that one. Mike, let me know.
We can see it. Looks great.
So those of you who haven't seen Halo before, this is the agent side. This is the area where the agents log in, and that's people within your organization are the resolvers, so the people that kind of assigned tickets and fulfill them and deliver them. So I've got this set up in an enterprise service management capacity. So I've got our IT over here, and if I click into that, you'll see all our kind of IT teams in here. We've also got kind of an HR facilities teams here. And also these can be completely siloed areas of the system. And so there's a few areas I want to show you how that all works in Halo. So under the configuration, we just have this organization layer. And you'll see you can do multi-tenancy as well if you do need to take an extra layer of segregation as well. Or we can build into here the department layers. So if we go into the organizational chart, I just want to show you how that all kind of structures in Halo. As we're pointing out, this won't be like your organization chart. It's very much a visual of the permissions and how the data is structured in Halo. So you'll see here we have the organization layer, and then underneath here we have our department layers. So we have our IT team, and you'll see that we can just add on additional departments. So we've got our HR team here, we've got our facilities department there, and our legal department here. And then within a department, you can then have your teams of people. So in IT, that might be your different service desk teams or resolver groups. In HR, you might have, I don't know, payroll teams or whatever it might be. So you can have your teams within here. And then within here, permissions, you can then grant access to whatever that person needs. So as Mike said earlier, you can have completely siloed areas of data, or you can have areas which are kind of cross visibility across the departments. And you'll see here that I'm logged in as Tom Petley, and I've got access to all these departments just so I can show you how it looks. So facilities, HR, IT, legal, all accessing that. The other thing we've got is a self-service portal. So I've got this set up here just in this multi-tenancy capacity. So we've got our IT here. Within here, we've got our standard kind of IT requests that people might make. If I go back to the kind of top level, you'll see we've also got these layers. So we're kind of having multiple service catalogs available from a single portal. And it's just a really great experience for the user because they go to one place, they go to the area they want to raise the request for, and then they have a single area where they can view all their requests for the different departments all in one place. So they don't have to memorize different URLs, they don't have 4 buttons to click on or different pages of the internet, just all from here. Really good experience. If you want to, actually, you can separate them out. There is options for that. This is our kind of out-of-the-box best practice. And the other one I'll show you is how you can create new ones, because it is really, really straightforward. And it's something that we're really kind of proud of how easy it is, and we think it's something that kind of everyone should be using. So what I want to show you is how to create a new one of these different service areas here. So they're created under here, under this areas box. And all I'm going to do is go under here and create a new one called legal. So under here, just give it a name. You then give it the entity name. So the entity name basically means, what does that person call a ticket, basically? It might be a case, it might be a ticket, it might be a job. You can have your own terminology based on which department is using it. We then just give it an icon. I'm going to give you for the legal icon here. And then we can do various things around default views and default types and all that kind of stuff. That creates the area. I'm just going to save that here. And you'll see this whole new area called legals created. We then apply filters and permissions to that. So we can say, this one, I'm only going to include the team of legal. And then depending on how segregated you need the data and how siloed you need to be, you can then configure the permissions of that and how far you take it on that. If I now just go into this legal area, you'll see we have our legal team. There's nothing in there at the moment, but that's created that entity already. So it's very, very straightforward to create. And then the other area we do is under the service catalog, you typically create a new service catalog for them just by creating it from here. And again, calling it something like legal. And I might put something like click here to raise a legal request, something like that. And if I just save that, we've now got a new option down here called legal. And I am just going to edit this and give it an image. Hopefully I've got one to hand. And we'll go with something. I've got some icons here we could use. Oh, I think there was a gamble there, lovely. Save that. And then all I'm going to do is add a general service request in there. I'll just call it legal request. We'll just save that. And make sure it's visible on the end user portal. And then if I just reload this, if I've done that correctly, hopefully, we should see a new entity for that. And you see we've got our legal one in there. So that's just a very small snippet of how Halo can be expanded to these different departments. And hopefully you've seen there's no coding, it's very, very straightforward. You need some Halo knowledge, but it doesn't take long to kind of capture that Halo knowledge. And there's many people here that on the tool that already use Halo, and hopefully you can kind of see how easy it is just to kind of onboard those departments, add those departments in. And yeah, and if you are interested in it, just you feel free to reach out to, if you are kind of a Halo customer or an Excalibur customer, reach out to either me or Mike, and we'll absolutely help you with anything here, and even help set up proof of concepts and things like that if you do want to maybe show that to any other departments that might be interested.
Very cool. I mean, that's the stuff that always blows my mind, is just boop, 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 there we go. and it's now available. You didn't have to, it didn't seem like I had to do all that much. Obviously, there's some behind the scenes things when you get into permissions and other things. And I think our audience understands that. But this is how easy it is to leverage the HaloITSM platform to really be your ESM platform, and not just ITSM. And that's just how easy it is to work no matter what area of the system you're working in. The configuration is very simple and very straightforward. And as we talked about before, new features are being introduced all the time. So Tabitha, I believe we had a couple of questions here as we're kind of winding down.
Yeah, I did have a few come in. I'd say the top one to ask would be, what types of integrations does HaloITSM offer, so that way they can integrate with the tools that they already currently have?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have loads of integrations, like loads and loads. Typical ones that are universally popular are things like Active Directory or Azure AD integrations. I'd say nearly all our customers use that. Also Google Workplace, if you are a Google house, integrate with that as well. And then there's specifics around, I guess, different departments, how you work. So I mentioned Workday earlier for kind of HR teams. Then there might be IT, might use something like Azure DevOps or Azure Sentinel, anything like that. Any of your tools are in there. What I'd suggest doing is, rather than me just listing out kind of integrations, if you go onto our website, and literally it's just, there's buttons everywhere for it, but it's haloitsm.com/integrations. You'll see a whole kind of host of integrations underneath there, and it's yeah, and there's loads of information about it on the website.
Yeah, and those are the pre-built integrations. Halo possesses a full REST API, so we have the ability to integrate literally to almost any system that's out there, and we work with customers all the time to identify appropriate integrations. But there's so many, many cases they haven't decided on a discovery tool, so pick one of the handful that are already integrated with. The integration already exists. That's a good place to start. A lot of times your journey on finding the tools that can help you as an organization be more efficient and better, or Workday being one of the most popular HR systems that we see out there, and they get asked about quite a bit. Lots and lots of integrations, but those are the ones that have been done so far. There's new ones being added all the time. I'm always amazed to kind of see, wow, okay, there's three or four more new systems that have been integrated with since I last looked at this 2 weeks ago. And it's because of projects with customers and needs that arise, and the integration's been built and is available to everyone.
Yeah, but you're right to touch on that as well. If we do have new customers that are looking to integrate maybe a product we haven't done before, it's often something that, rather than suggesting the customer goes and builds a custom integration, or even Excalibur or a partner building a custom integration, we like to build it so that everyone can use it. It's very, very rare that there's a system that people are using that other people aren't using.
Right.
It's, unless it's like a bespoke in-house system that's purely in-house, that's the only kind of scenario I can think of where it's a product that no one else will be using. So often we do like to basically just build it into the program so other people can use it as well.
Awesome. And I know we're at the top of the hour, so I think, Mike, I'll just transition you into closing us out for today.
Sure. So we want to thank all of you for joining us today. Tom, thank you as always. It's always fun to get together and talk about Halo and the things that are going on in the ITSM and ESM market. We are here. Excalibur is here to help, as is the team at Halo. Go to the Excalibur Data Systems website, excaliburdata.com/HaloITSM, and you can sign up for a free trial of HaloITSM. Fully functional, free 30-day trial of the platform to get your feet wet. Keep an eye on our social media. Take a look at our YouTube channel and at Halo's YouTube channel. We have a lot of recordings that are out there that may answer some of your questions on HaloITSM, or just reach out to us, and we'll be happy to talk to you about the power and capabilities of the HaloITSM platform. Everyone, thank you, and have a great rest of your week.